Rapid urban growth in Kenya has led to overcrowding, inadequate housing, and strained public services. What measures are being taken to address the housing deficit? Kenya remains a key transit and destination country for migrants who explore the impacts of migration on local communities, economy, and national policies. Kenya's role in regional and international cooperation is growing. We analyze the effectiveness of multilateralism agreements in driving economic and social progress. Climate change poses a major threat to Kenya's agriculture and water resources. What strategies are being implemented to mitigate these effects? On to our first news segment, human settlement. And urbanization is transforming Kenya with rapid population growth, driving demand for housing and infrastructure.
We should try and limit the number of people in our country who are moving into the informal settlements. The reason why our informal settlements are expanding is because, one, of the economic status of people. I may have mentioned perhaps in a previous video that it may look like we are not developing or people do not have money. It is just that yes, there's money, and perhaps there's a lot more money that has gone into people's pockets. It's just that as the money has increased, so has taxation increased. And when somebody has got less disposable income, they have got very few choices of what they can afford to buy or the kind of lifestyle they can afford to have. And therefore, when someone is not able even to live in the most basic affordable house, they are then forced to move into an informal settlement. So if there's a way in which we can reduce the taxation or just increase the disposable income that people have, then the population of people in the informal settlements will drastically reduce. So we should balance economic development and the degradation that is happening in the informal settlements by ensuring that people have got more disposable income.
However, issues like informal settlements and strained public resources pose significant challenges. How can Kenya create sustainable human settlements? Let's take a closer look, and our reporter Christine Omondi with more. Christine, paint the picture for us. When it comes to urban planning in Kenya, what's the toughest nut to crack right now?
Well, of course, the toughest nut is getting the resources. There's been issue in land ownership. There's people residing in these areas that are planned, or the projects are planned to take place. And there's also the issue of getting funds to fund this project so that the project moves and goes on.
We see informal settlements growing rapidly. How are they shaping the urban landscape, and what ripple effects are we seeing on social services and stability?
We've seen in Nairobi there's a lot of congestion, there's a lot of traffic because this population increase, and the informal settlements like Kibra, there's been a rapid growth in the settlements in the area because of the increase in population, people moving from the rural to urban areas to get jobs, make a better way to sustain their lives.
Let's talk solutions. Are there any standard policies in place aimed at tackling the housing crisis and prompting sustainability?
For instance, the entire project should be revised because we've seen there's these deductions in each and every citizen's salary to build affordable or to attain the affordable housing. But when people move in, there have been a lot of issues. There's poor electricity, there's zero water on these houses, and they still have to pay to live in these houses that has been the money used to build has been deducted from their salary. So the overall project should be revised so that the citizens can live more comfortably, and the resources should be available to each and every resident of the country.
On to our international migration. Migration is a defining issue in today's world. Kenya both as a source and a destination country.
I would hate for that to happen to me too, because in the very first place, there's a reason I left my home country to come to a different country. So if it happened that one day the president of Kenya just decides to forcefully deport us back, I would really hate for that day to come.
Migration remains a defining issue of our time. Whether due to economic hardship, conflict, or climate change, millions of people are on the move. Kenya is both a transit and a destination country for migrants and refugees. What does this mean for local communities and how are governments responding? We take a closer look.
Well, if you're looking at it from the perspective of the conflicts and the war, then the migration policies have actually helped support migration. Why I'm saying this is because those who have been afflicted by war and have fled are considered refugees, war-torn refugees, or asylum seekers. In that particular space, there's a UNHCR policy based on the 1951 convention that advocates for non-refoulement or non-refoulement, depending on how you pronounce it. This basically means that any refugee that is seeking asylum or seeking refuge cannot be returned forcefully based on the state's national policies. This is an international policy that has been recognized by states across the world, and because of that, refugees are able to seek asylum and safety from different parts of the world based on their reason for fleeing their state. Faces the challenges and opportunities brought by migration, from labor migration to refugee crisis. How does Kenya handle international migration?
Every country has a law for migrants. It would be perhaps a responsibility of the international organizations to ensure that these laws are adhered to. If there's requirement for advocacy of certain issues, they should pick out those issues and see what did the government commit to do in terms of migration. Are they actually doing it? Are there reports that have been written out? For example, there's a Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, that is a national government that it's a parastatal that keeps the main government in check on the treaties they have signed themselves to protect migrants. On the other side, there's the Kenya Human Rights Commission, which is a local NGO that also keeps the government in check. So these ones actually check what the Kenya National Commission is doing and what the government is doing. And therefore, they can produce reports. They actually go to the ground and see what kind of human rights violations have happened, which media station reported them, what has happened to the victims or the survivors, what is the government doing, how have they been treated, what is going on with their cases. Therefore, these international and local NGOs can actually assist in monitoring the human rights situation for migrants in the country.
And on matters concerning multilateralism, no country exists in isolation. Multilateralism, cooperation among multiple nations, is essential for addressing global issues.
No country stands alone in today's interconnected world. From climate change to security threats, global challenges demand global solutions. Multilateralism, the cooperation of multiple nations, has become the cornerstone of international progress. Kenya, a proactive player on both regional and global stages, continues to engage with organizations like the African Union and the United Nations. But how effective is this cooperation in addressing the pressing issues of our time?
Kenya actively participates in regional and global organizations, but how effective is multilateralism in solving key challenges?
Is resources. Let's start from there. And even when they get independence, it was political independence, and then the structure that have been created was to maintain it ungovernable without a government. And of course, UN had played an important role to address that issue, but they never went to the cause of the problem. Because the cause of the problem, in my point of view of Congo, it can be addressed internal and external. Internally, because we have been told that there are situations in which part of people from East region, which are not being considered by by the government, and also the law for stronger can survive, that is inside there. And also there are those external interests sometimes in which some people, organizations, they are financing those instabilities, so to have access to those resources. And the UN have been supported DRC as UN and also through African Union. And the African Union African Union was acted through regional bloc as the East African Community force was there, and even SADC force was there, and they failed to address the issue because that interest at some point, because the decision, even if it was a Security Council, United Nations Security Council, was their decision to deploy, but they failed to go to the root of the problem. But at some point they tried to bring the main actor to the table, and they try also to create, at least to bring some security on places where the conflict was intense, especially in East Congo. UN were there for long, and at some time they managed to contain those conflicts.
Escape the ordinary and set sail on a journey like no other. Experience breathtaking views on Hong Kong's iconic skyline, indulge in a world-class dining, and enjoy unforgettable entertainment, all aboard our luxurious cruise. Whether it's a romantic getaway, a family adventure, or a weekend escape, the perfect voyage awaits. Sail, indulge, discover. Book now and embark on the ultimate cruise.
On matters concerning climate change, climate change is no longer a distant threat, it's a present crisis.
And in particular, the question that she asked touches on cutting down of trees. I think we, by doing civic education, the people around the space and the Karura forest, which is a public area, and making the people aware of what the harm it will cause to them by cutting down those trees, because these are a habitat for so many other natural animals.
Agriculture has been affected mainly by loss in production, because the way, maybe I should begin by explaining that much of agriculture in Kenya is dependent on rain-fed systems. We do not have supplementary sources of water, so we basically depend on rain. So when the rain is much, then we have better production. When we have less rain, then we have constrained production. And that has meant that agriculture, whenever there has been a change in the environment, then agriculture is directly affected. The same thing goes with water, because Kenya, by its nature and geophysical status, is highly water strained. Kenya is a water strained nation. We generally don't have enough water for everyone. And if you may be aware of a bit of history, there was a time science had proposed that the headquarters of this country may move to Kisumu. And this may be where Nairobi may move to Kisumu, may shift to Kisumu, because Kisumu will be the only place that has enough water over the next even 500 or 1,000 years. But other places like Nairobi, the central province, where much of the water in Nairobi, for example, comes from, they may be going down over time. And this has meant that the way we think about water access, especially what you call potable water, has to shift by understanding there's a direct correlation between water access and how the climate conditioning aspects are.
Kenya faces extreme weather patterns, prolonged droughts, and environmental degradation. How can the country mitigate these effects?
Okay, thank you so much. So, our organization, Adaptation Consortium, is involved in addressing climate change through mainly supporting the county governments to mainstream climate change and climate finance matters into their plans, projects, policies, and budgeting and strategies. So in doing this, the Adaptation Consortium came up with an innovative way of doing this by establishing the County Climate Change Fund mechanism, which is known as the CCCFM. And this mechanism has 4 major components in addressing climate change, where we have the fund, we have the planning committees, we have the resilience planning tools, then we have monitoring and evaluation. So starting with the fund, so in this case, we realized that in addressing climate change issues, we need money. And how do we go about this through this mechanism? So the mechanism establishes funds whereby we advocate and have supported a number of counties in establishing the County Climate Change Act, which establishes the County Climate Change Fund. And this means the counties are required to set a certain percentage of their county development funds into a climate change kitty. So this money is particularly meant for climate adaptation and resilience. So that is the fund aspects, and this has been achieved so far. Only 47 counties have the Climate Change Act. Only 47 counties have set a certain percentage, and this varies from county to county. Some counties have set 2% from the county development fund, some 1.5%, some have gone even as much as 3%. So this one makes the counties to be climate finance ready.
And adapt to a changing climate. Our reporter, Natalia Dero, with more.
Climate change is no longer a distant threat. It's a crisis affecting communities today. In Kenya, extreme weather patterns, from devastating droughts to deadly floods, are disrupting lives and livelihoods. How are governments, activists, and scientists working to combat climate change? We investigate.
Well, our 25 minutes are over, and as we've seen today, human settlements, international migration, multilateralism, and climate change are interconnected global challenges that shape our daily lives. And these issues need to be addressed, and they require collaboration, informed decision-making, and community participation. Stay engaged, stay informed, because the solution starts with us. And thank you for watching, and see you next time. Have a lovely day.